Salam to each and every one. Tenestally in joy and peace. We glorify the life giver and the keeper of life. King Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari I. Give thanks, royal family, for your presence with us. We're definitely ready to bring forth another lecture in our lecture series that we have been bringing to the nation and to the international community at large. You know, the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards would have told us that he had his people at the bottom of the ocean. Now, it may sound strange to some, and let me be clear, this is something that I would have learned from the early times of me traveling to the foundation at Bobo Hill. Elders would recount the words of King Emmanuel that his footsteps are at the bottom of the sea. And let me repeat that he has his people at the bottom of the ocean. I can clearly recall one priest telling me that King Emmanuel also said that he visits them from time to time. Now, again, this is something that you would have heard on the altar. This is something that elders that would have walked with the Father would have repeated to myself and to others. It's an interesting statement, but what does it really mean? And I'm going to utilize those statements to couple it with the conversation or the lecture that we will be presenting this evening as we speak about the ancient cities that are under the sea. Family, now available, an easier, more economic way to get your whole foods and health products. All you have to do is give it a try. Email us today, priestisaacinstitute at gmail.com, and we will send you our digital catalog loaded with the whole foods and health products that you've been looking for. Your honey, maple syrup, agave, your quinoa, millet, teff, bulgur wheat, wild rice, and other grains. How about your almond milk, your almond nuts, your almond butter, and so forth? Essential oils, therapeutic soaps and creams, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, and so much more. So much more. Your legumes, your flax seeds. Family, email us today and get your catalog and see for yourself all that is available. Affordable prices and easy access. We deliver in bulk for restaurants and supermarkets. Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Wholistic Whole Food Store. Yes, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. And royal family, let me remind you that these lectures that we are definitely bringing to the public are a part of the promotional campaign as it relates to our upcoming tour, our Christmas tour to Ethiopia. And this is from the 29th day of December 2025 to the 7th day of January 2026. And we are speaking of 10 days and 10 exciting nights with us in Addis Ababa, going straight to the south, Sidamo, Shashamane, one day Genet. Of course, we're talking about the waterfalls, the hot sulfur springs. We're talking about the residence of Haile Selassie the First, and then, of course, in Addis Ababa itself, the numerous museums that we definitely have to partake of, and of course the parks, Unity Park and Toto Park, Friendship Park, and so much more. Or not to mention the palaces of the emperor, not the palace of the emperor, the palaces of the emperor, Emperor Haile Selassie I, because we're also going to visit the palaces of Menelik II and family, so much more. But as we enter into the depths of this reasoning lecture presentation this evening, we will get into a bit more of the details as it relates to the upcoming tour. But you don't have to wait for that. You can just email us again, priestisaacinstitute at gmail.com, and we give you all the information that you need to know about the upcoming tour. Keeping in mind that there is a 30% offer that we are still offering up to this moment. So the 30% discount, to use that term, it is still available, family. Let me repeat that for you. The 30% discount on the Christmas tour, the Ethiopian Christmas tour, from the 29th of December 2025 to the 7th of January 2026. The offer still stands. So I would encourage you to take advantage of that while it still lasts. And remember, you can at least contact us so you can get an understanding, a bit more detail as it relates to the itinerary, as it relates to exactly what we will be doing. Remember, this is all inclusive, your accommodations and your meals and your transportation and your payment to visit each and every one of the sites. But as I said, family, as we go deeper into the program, we will give you a bit more information as it relates to that. I want to go straight to the subject area because I think that this is a subject area that we need to touch upon. And I must highlight, Royal Family, give thanks to all of those who partake of these lecture series to the fullness, who understand that we need to take the information to another level. I began by speaking of words that I would have been told were spoken by the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. I didn't hear the words myself. In fact, I never even read them. Now, within the Bible, it speaks about the footsteps of the Most High being at the bottom of the sea. Yes. And again, those who the teachers of this would have taught me that the Black Christ himself, I'm speaking of King Emmanuel, would have uttered words similar to that, that his footsteps is at the bottom of the sea. Now, that specifically sounds as if, well, it may be him reciting the scripture. But there's another saying that the Black Christ would have uttered, that he has his people at the bottom of the ocean. Hear that? Eh? He has his people at the bottom of the ocean. It goes as far as to say that he visits them from time to time. And again, this is something that many people may not be able to swallow. But again, what does Prince Emmanuel really mean when he says his footsteps are at the bottom of the sea and his people are at the bottom of the ocean? Before we go into the depths of the subject, does he mean that there's a city somewhere under the water or cities under the ocean where people live? Does that bring to the reality the concept of merman and mermaid and these different things, and Triton and maybe Ursula and the Little Mermaid and all of that stuff? Are we seeing Aquaman? What is this concept of people being at the bottom of the ocean? Listen, the Honorable King Emmanuel is a very mystic being. And I know ones who may not have even heard these sayings from him may even deny it. I've heard many other things that ones would have said the Black Christ would have uttered in public and maybe even to themselves privately. But I know for sure the Honorable King Emmanuel is extremely deep and esoteric in his expression. So what does he mean? I believe he said so. The Bible itself highlights that the Lord, his footsteps are at the bottom of the sea. So again, what is the meaning of it? What's the understanding, the rationale? Or is it really symbolic? Let me repeat. Are there cities under the water where there are civilizations that are taking place? We know we have the inner earth, civilizations that are underground. Some people speak of civilizations on Mars and in the Orion Nebula and the Sirius star system. So the concept of the cities under the water is something that people speak of. Some people highlight their aquamarine human-like creatures in the depths of the ocean. And you must keep in mind that the scientists of today still have not really reached to the point that they could even say that we have gone to the bottom of the ocean. Maybe they would have used their technology and sonar and these different things to maybe map it to some degree. But according to them, they would have gone to the moon. But they have not reached to the bottom of the ocean. All right. Now, again, is that what the Black Christ is telling us? Or is he highlighting another level of understanding that we should know? For example, the great city of Atlantis. Atlantis was not a city underneath the ocean. But what became of Atlantis? According to Atlantis's own story, it sunk. The kingdom of Mu. This is also another great kingdom that was not in the Atlantic like Atlantis, but was in the Pacific. It's not there anymore. What became of Mu? That sunk as well. Now, there are those that don't ascribe to no Atlantis, and there are those that don't believe in the city of Mu. But at the same time, you must admit, science and archaeology and what have you would have discovered many cities in the ocean, under the water, off the coast of Cuba, off the coast of Japan, off the coast of India, in Lake Titicaca. We have sunken cities, great civilizations, massive pyramids and temples, and statues of deities that were considered just myth. But at the same time, these cities were aligned with the same mythological deities that have been found now archaeologically. And we can highlight, for example, the great city off of the coast of India in the Arabian Sea, mark you, the city of Dwarka. Now remember, the city of Dwarka is considered to be the city of the god Krishna. The city of Dwarka was said to be a legendary city. So in other words, individuals would have told you, well, this is not a real city. It's just a myth. Because remember, Krishna is not a real human being. Krishna is a deity. Krishna is some sort of, again, mythological character. At least so we are supposed to believe. But Krishna now is the ruler over this city. And interestingly, when Krishna died, the city sunk. And again, that's just Hindu tradition. That's just something that we put in our esoteric understanding and our folklore and fables, etc. But lo and behold, in modern time, they discovered the ancient city of Dwarka, again off the western coast of India. And again, it highlighted that it was the city of Krishna. So the fabled city of Dwarka is a real city. Listen to me good. And this fabled city of Dwarka was controlled and ruled by the god Krishna. Both the city And Krishna were considered by the Western world for sure to be nothing but a fable. But now we have found the city. And even the city highlights the god Krishna because underneath the ocean they found statues, temples, even carvings highlighting that it is the Dwarka and highlighting that it is ruled by the god Krishna. And let me be clear again, as I've always said, and we would have done a whole program on Krishna and the same Dwarka maybe several years ago. You must understand, yes, Krishna, as we know, Krishna may come across as a legend, but you must understand that is not every legend is pure mythology. Some legends are literally historical, but you see, with any legend, it's almost like you put it on steroids. Individuals are lionized in the legend. And I always like to use the example of the foundation of the tiger's nest. Not necessarily our program, The Tiger's Nest, and I will just take the moment to encourage you. If you are not a subscriber to The Tiger's Nest, you should contact us and definitely inquire of what you have to do to become a member of the subscription team, and you'll never miss another episode of our radio program again, The Tiger's Nest. But I'm speaking of the Tiger's Nest in Bhutan. According to the story, the monk that created the tiger's nest, he wanted to go up to the cliff, to the side of the mountain, but there was no way to get up there. And he went on the back of a tiger. His wife. No. The reality is, obviously the story doesn't sound like a story that you would swallow. But in reality, it is a true account of history. The brother monk had a wife, and his wife was so strong not to lift him up. His wife was such an assistance to the work that he was doing, that because of her power, her intelligence, obviously, just like any real strong woman standing with her man, she could have assisted him to the point that it would appear as if he would have ridden her on her back, and she, being fierce, a tigress, would have carried him. Because of her intelligence and her work ethics and whatever it may have taken, they worked together to reach to the side of that mountain to create the tiger's nest. Now, when the history is written, it is written in a very symbolic way. And again, she would have been lionized to the point that it sounds as if it's just a legend. I always say Jonah being swallowed by the fish in the Bible is not necessarily a lie. For sure, I don't believe nobody was swallowed by no fish and came out after 3 days. That's just my personal opinion. But it doesn't mean that the story is not true. But as Africans, that's how we express our reality. This is just the truth. That's why all stories belong to Anansi. So in other words, we express our history. Listen to me good. We express our theology, if you want to call it religion. We express our culture, our morals, everything. Again, let me repeat, even our history. We express it in song. We express it in dance, poetry. Listen to this. We express it even in the theater. Even in the theater. That is why when people say, oh, Marcus Garvey never said that no king going to crown in no Africa. You people don't know what you're talking about. He didn't say anything. He had a play. He had a play. And in the play, an Ethiopian king and an Ethiopian queen was crowned. Well, that's it. Marcus Garvey said it then, because that's how we speak. We use the theater, we use song, we use dance, we use poetry, we use artwork. That's how we operate as Africans. And it's important that you grasp that concept, family. The lack of understanding these esoteric secrets would have kept us back and continually keeps us back from moving forward spiritually. That is why when certain information come to us, we're quick to, oh, I don't want to hear that, and oh, you're talking about Anunnaki and this and that and the third, because we're not open enough. We've been totally severed from our spiritual esoteric understanding. The tiger's nest. The man flew up there on his wife, which was a tigress with wings. And it's a true story. But of course, it's not as literal as it sounds. Jonah in the fish is not as literal as it sounds. Even the Jonah story makes it clear that he was in the belly of the beast. The beast doesn't necessarily mean a fish. Even the United States president driving a car that they call the beast. So it depends on how you define the beast. The bottomless pit, pardon me, the depths of hell. That is the beast. So Jonah was in the beast for 3 days and 3 nights. That's why Christ even referred to Jonah's position and said, just like how Jonah was in the depths of the earth, in the beast, the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, so shall I be in the depths of the earth. Not no fish now, but the fish is symbolic of the Pisces age that he, the same Christ, was a part of, even at the climax of, as the Messiah for that age. This is deep. So again, let's return back to Krishna, who is considered to be a mythological figure. Krishna is a Christ figure. Krishna, the Christ. Some say Krishna means black because that blue, light blue figure that you see, that they say is Krishna, is not necessarily the true Krishna. The original Krishna is black. Now understand, even the earth day of Krishna, some say the 19th of August, some say the 17th. That's the exact same thing they say about Menelik II. Although I think it has been narrowed down to the 17th of August, you still find some authors saying that Menelik II was born on the 19th of August. Same thing with the Krishna figure, But we all know the 17th of August is Marcus Messiah Garvey. So yes, just highlighting this now, family, that whether you believe or check for Krishna or not, the city of Krishna, Dwarka, has been discovered. And interestingly, the description that was given to it in the text is similar to what they would have found. Now, before we go into Dwarka itself, we want to examine a few other cities that would have sunk under the waters in the ocean and even in lakes. Now you have several, of these cities, several sunken cities all over the world. Even in Jamaica, you have Port Royal that sunk a couple 100 years ago. Some cities go down because of earthquake. Some cities by volcano. About 3 or 4 years ago, a whole island disappeared, I think, in the Pacific Ocean. A whole island. It did make the news. I think about 30,000 people lived on the island. I'm sure you remember. It did make the news, but it's just to show you how insignificant, certain people are to the rest of the world. A whole island gone. And some people don't even know about that. Yeah, and that was not too long ago. So sunken cities, obviously, is nothing that is make-believe. We want to go into the depths of that discussion, to use that term again, this evening. Join us in Ethiopia from the 29th of December 2025 to the 7th of January 2026 for our Ethiopian Christmas tour. From the city to the south, from Addis Ababa to Shashamane, 10 days and 10 exciting nights experiencing the land of origins. This is an amazing tour, compact, concise, and precise. It includes the parks, Entoto Park, Friendship Park, Unity Park, the museums,
the Science Museum, National Museum, the Red Terror and the Addis Ababa Museum, plus the Addis Ababa University Palace of Emperor Haile Selassie I, which is also a museum, Maskell Square, Menelik's Palaces, plus so much more. Battle of Adwa Museum. Then southwards to Sidamo, we will visit the residence of the Emperor, the sulfur baths, and make sure you bring your hiking gear as we will be hiking to the waterfalls. This tour is all inclusive. Your meals, your accommodations, transportation, plus your security, all provided for. For a limited time, we are offering a 30% discount on this already economical tour. Only $1,680 with a 50% down payment will register you for the Ethiopian Christmas tour. For more information, to see our itinerary, or to book your space, email us priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. That's priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Payments can also be made utilizing PayPal, Cashapp, Zelle, and much more. The Ethiopian Christmas tour from the city to the south. I will see you there.
I want to make a point before I continue. Although I have been highlighting that the steps of the Lord are in the ocean and at the bottom of the sea, let me be clear, somewhat paraphrasing, because in the Psalm, the 77th Psalm, if I'm correct, it clearly says that his footsteps are not known. But listen to me good. In the same breath, it says that his pathways, or his path, is in the great waters. His ways are in the sea. So this is why I'm highlighting that his path, evidence that he was here. The way in which he trods, according to the Psalm, is in the sea. So to me, when it says his footsteps are not known, we understand that it's in the sea, but it's just that we do not know the depths, we do not know the channels, we do not know where the Almighty would have trod. But he's clearly showing you that his depths is in the sea. It's like saying my home is in space, and where I dwell you do not know. But we know it's in space, but we just don't know where in space. And I'm just using that as an example, So when the Father, King Emmanuel, says to us, according to what we would have learned, that his footsteps are in the sea and his people are in the bottom of the ocean, again, it may not be a direct quote from the Bible. And I would repeat, even though the psalmist says that his footsteps are not known, it means that it is lost to us, because his depths are in the bottom of the sea. His ways and his pathway are in the waters, the great waters. That is why his footsteps are not known. So in that context, that is why I put it in that way. But again, just like the Lord, King Emmanuel, is telling us, his footsteps, his path, his ways are in the sea. All right.
Now, where I would like to begin the discussion, although obviously we would have begun already, and I want to highlight off the coast of Japan, and we're going to be speaking of the Sunken City of Mu. You may say Mu. Yes, Mu. Many ones consider the Yonaguni underwater monument to be the remnants of the city Mu. Now, what's interesting, is that many people do not check for Mu at all. Even ones that believe in Atlantis, they dismiss Mu, to the point that even in tourism, they consider the Yonaguni underwater monument, again, this is off the coast of Japan, they consider it the Atlantis of the Pacific. Listen to that good. the Atlantis of the Pacific. Remember, Atlantis sunk in the Atlantic Ocean, hence the name, the Atlantic Ocean. I'm going to repeat. There was a great civilization. We're talking thousands, tens of thousands of years ago, you know. There was a great civilization somewhat aligned with Atlantis, known as the civilization of Mu, Lemuria. And that, according to even the records on the Nacal tablets, sunk in the Pacific Ocean. So obviously, if these great cities would have gone under, and there are still remains of them, they could be found. And off the coast of Japan and Taiwan and these places, you find evidence that there was some level of civilization that would have found itself under the water. So again, they refer to it as the Atlantis of the Pacific. They would tell you, dive down to the Atlantis of the Pacific. I'm going to read some information here, highlighting the great city under the water there in Japan. We're talking about the Yonaguni underwater monument, and they would have found a pyramid, ancient pyramid there as well. It says here the special rock formation. The rectangular rock formation known as the Yonaguni monument measures 100 meters by 60 meters and stands about 25 meters tall. With other angular structures around it, the monument certainly looks man-made, but there is a problem. Scientists estimate that the formation is many thousands of years old, created before human beings would have had the means of making such a structure. So it is, or so is it, a natural rock formation, a natural formation adopted by man, or is this indeed the remains of a lost civilization? And they're telling you that you should decide. Now, this is very interesting, because we're talking about a city that, yes, would have been discovered in 1986 or thereabout. And according to this article, there is a problem, but I don't find it a great problem. The problem is that scientists estimate that the formation is many thousand years old. You understand? So this is a good candidate for a city the likes of Mu, a city that is considered to predate history. So, for example, the Egyptian civilization and the civilization of Sumer, and these civilizations would have come after the civilization of Mu and the civilization of Atlantis. In fact, Atlantis, according to the mythology or the mythos, was founded by the great Tahuti or Jahuti, who we refer to as the god Thought, and the emerald tablets and all of these things come into play when you have to highlight the great Tahuti. I wonder if you understand what I'm saying here. So the great kingdom of Mu, or if you want to be politically correct, the Yonaguni monument, which obviously represents a sunken city, is evidence that civilization existed. And hear this, according to the scientists, when you observe the architecture of the city that they would have found, and they would have dated the remains to obviously see how old it is way older than the means and the level of technology to create cities like that. So they say, or so they think. But that's the same thing they say about the pyramid. I mean, we can put that to rest now, you know. We don't have to be surprised every time we find an ancient city that goes back thousands of years before, the handsaw was invented. You follow me? We already have enough evidence that we had control of technology tens of thousands of years ago. I think by now everybody knows that. The Great Pyramids of Giza. We're talking about the structures at Lalibela, the churches of Lalibela. And then we have to go into the temples of the ancient world, temple at Karnak and the temples in the main kingdom, even the main pyramids, the step pyramid of Saqqara, and so many different monuments. Then you go into Abydos. On the walls of Abydos, you see the Black Hawk helicopter. You see the hovercraft. You see the war tank. In certain temples in Kemet, you see the bulb with the filament in the bulb. So, I mean, the point is that we would have definitely been on a higher level way before modern day technology and the industrial age and the iron age and Ford making his cars and all of that. We would have passed that stage a long time ago. And I think we have enough evidence to prove that. So no need to be surprised anymore. And oh, there's a problem. Scientists are saying that this technology did not exist for the age of this monument, and the monument is so precise, and the angles are so square, and this, that, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Yeah, we don't need to be surprised anymore. But what may surprise some now is that there is another sunken city. And this city is not necessarily at the bottom of the ocean. This city is at the bottom of the lake. Family, now available. An easier, more economic way to get your whole foods and health products. All you have to do is give it a try. Email us today, priestisaacinstitute at gmail.com, and we will send you our digital catalog loaded with the whole foods and health products that you've been looking for. Your honey, maple syrup, agave, your quinoa, millet, teff, bulgur wheat, wild rice, and other grains. How about your almond milk, your almond nuts, your almond butter, and so forth? Essential oils, therapeutic soaps and creams, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, and so much more. So much more. Your legumes, your flax seeds. Family, email us today and get your catalog and see for yourself all that is available. Affordable prices and easy access. We deliver in bulk for restaurants and supermarkets. Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Wholistic Whole Food Store. Now, of course, I want everyone to keep in mind the theme here this evening. Because, yes, we're speaking of ancient sunken cities. But I would have coupled what we consider a culture, a Bobo Shanti culture, with the lecture this evening. A culture is basically like a word, a phrase, a saying. That's the Bobo way of putting it. This is a Bobo culture. And I would have been cultured. I'm going to repeat it. I never read it, never heard it on a cassette. It is from the mouth of ones who would have learned what they're teaching me, and those who would have even walked with the Honorable Prince Emmanuel Charles Edwards and would have been repeating what they would have heard with their ears. King Emmanuel saying that his footsteps are in the sea. And as I said at the beginning of the program, that is something that is quite biblical. You get that from the scripture, that his footsteps are in the sea. So we can relate to that right away. But King Emmanuel said that his people are at the bottom of the ocean. What does that mean? And one priest clearly showed me that, yeah, man, and the father said he does visit them sometime. Quite interesting. And what I was highlighting earlier, Royal Family, is that yes, there is a school of thought. You may dismiss it, but there is a school of thought that there's some life taking place somewhere down there that modern technology has not been able to see or detect or to pick up. And if they pick it up, they're keeping it quiet. you know we also spoke of the inner earth and other aspects of our creation and surrounding that many of us are totally blind, or oblivious to, not aware of whatsoever. But it exists. Remember, we live amongst parallel worlds and different dimensions as well, so we cannot run away from that. But the reality that there is some city under the water, again with mermen and mermaids and these different things, is a different discussion, to be very honest. But the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards highlight that his footsteps, and I'm going to keep saying that because it's key, it's at the bottom of the sea. That is why I purposely began with Dwarka and the god Krishna, who is a Christ figure. You understand? If we were to look into this realistically, and Krishna was the god that ruled over Dwarka, and they found Dwarka at the bottom of the sea, well, Krishna's footsteps are at the bottom of the sea. Krishna's footsteps, the Christ figure, the black god, his footsteps are at the bottom of the sea. You don't believe me? You can go to India. I think you can take a diving tour, obviously with guides, and they would carry you and show you the city of Krishna under the sea. And there's oh, look, his statue there. That's his footprint. And look, his name etched here. That's his footprint. Krishna's footprints at the bottom of the sea. King Emmanuel said that his footprints are at the bottom of the sea. It's in the scriptures as well. His people are at the bottom of the ocean. He visits them sometime. That's a next level by itself, though. All right, let us highlight Lake Titicaca. We've definitely gone into Mesoamerica now. Not Ocean Titicaca, not off the coast of Bolivia or off the coast of Brazil or Argentina or wherever has a coast in that level of the hemisphere. No, in the lake. A lake, a body of water that's inland. Underneath the lake is a whole sunken city. That's something else. That's some lake. Have you heard about the mysterious underwater ruins in Lake Titicaca? It's an incredible discovery that has captured the imagination of archaeologists and history enthusiasts alike. But who built these structures? Why did they end up underwater? And what can they teach us about the people who once lived there? The Sunken City, as it's called, is an ancient archaeological site. This fascinating find offers a glimpse into the past and the civilizations that once thrived in the region. Now, this is very, very important, Royal Family. It says here in this article, we'll dive deep into the sunken city, exploring its discovery, significance, and the secrets it holds. Keep in mind, this is not at the bottom of any ocean. This is in a lake. The sunken city is an ancient underworld archaeological site located in the depths of Lake Titicaca. Archaeologists and divers have discovered remnants of temples. Let me repeat. Archaeologists and divers have discovered remnants of temples, not a temple, remnants of temples, stone paths, pathways that you walk on, made from stone, and other structures suggesting a significant civilization long before, way before the Inca Empire. When you talk about Machu Picchu and these places, this is the Inca Empire. This is older than that. The ruins are estimated to be between 1,000 to 1,500 years old, predating the famous Inca civilization. This suggests that the sunken city belonged to an earlier culture that thrived in the region long before the Incas rose to power. Now, of course, if we're going to talk about any power before the Inca, we know we are speaking of the Olmec. We know we're speaking of the Shai people. We know we're speaking of Shaite Kotle and Kulkukan, the original black Olmec from the Eastern world. According to Chief Hawk, walked across the Atlantic Ocean and entered the Eastern Gate and civilized their people. This was told to me personally by Chief Hawk from Missouri. All right. The discovery of the sunken city has sparked excitement among researchers and history buffs as it provides a rare opportunity to study an ancient site preserved underwater for centuries. The ruins offer valuable insight into the lives, beliefs, and architectural prowess of the people who once inhabited the shores of Lake Titicaca. All right, this is very key, royal family. We are getting a good understanding of what is taking place now inside of Lake Titicaca. It says here, Lake Titicaca, the largest freshwater lake in South America, that's good information for you, is situated in the Andes Mountains. So it's up high, straddling the border between Bolivia and Peru at an elevation of 3,812 meters, or some 12,507 feet above sea level. That's up there. It is the world's highest navigable lake and a region steeped in history and culture and deep significance. All right. The lake covers over 8,300 square kilometers, which is equated to 3,200 square miles, making it South America's largest freshwater lake by volume. Its size and unique location have made it a focal point for ancient civilizations and modern day explorers. So I could understand how a whole city could get lost in that. You understand the depths of the lake, you know, they just the volume of the lake, the sheer size of the lake, of course, is being expressed even in the article here. So we have another ancient city, and just like the city off the coast of Japan, we are Yonaguna. We are highlighting the understanding that we're dealing with an ancient civilization. This is not just a piece of island that sank. No disrespect. This is not Port Royal. We're talking about cities thousands of years old with a civilization that in some cases the architecture, the whole structure of the complexes that have been discovered really is beyond understanding to some scientists, because the machinery, the technology, the wherewithal to build something like this did not exist as yet.
Join us in Ethiopia from the 29th of December 2025 to the 7th of January 2026 for our Ethiopian Christmas tour. From the city to the south, from Addis Ababa to Shashamane, 10 days and 10 exciting nights experiencing the land of origins. This is an amazing tour, compact, concise, and precise. It includes the parks, Entoto Park,
Friendship Park, Unity Park, the museums, the Science Museum, National Museum, the Red Terror and the Addis Ababa Museum, plus the Addis Ababa University Palace of Emperor Haile Selassie I, which is also a museum. Maskell Square, Menelik's Palaces, plus so much more. Battle of Adwa Museum. Then southwards to Sidamo, we will visit the residence of the Emperor, the sulfur baths, and make sure you bring your hiking gear as we will be hiking to the waterfalls. This tour is all inclusive. Your meals, your accommodations, transportation, plus your security, all provided for. For a limited time, we are offering a 30% discount on this already economical tour. Only $1,680 with a 50% down payment will register you for the Ethiopian Christmas tour. For more information, to see our itinerary, or to book your space, email us priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. That's priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Payments can also be made utilizing PayPal, Cashapp, Zelle, and much more. The Ethiopian Christmas Tour, from the city to the south. I will see you there.
And yes, family, just reminding each and every one, give thanks first of all for your presence, and give thanks for taking the time to even sup with us on these lectures within the lecture series, highlighting and promoting and reminding you of our upcoming tour. We're talking about Ethiopian tour, specifically the Christmas tour, from the 29th day of December 2025 to the 7th day of January 2026. Royal family, 10 days and 10 magnificent nights, specifically from the city to the south. And don't forget the bonus tour. When you contact us, you must inquire about the bonus tour to Lalibela. But for now, the 10 days and 10 nights tour itself, from the city to the south, remember there is still a 30% discount available for you. So in other words, it's 30% off of the full price. And let me just remind you again, when you pay for your you book your tour, basically keep in mind that you are paying for everything. So it's all inclusive. Keep that in mind. The only thing that you have to buy really is the gifts that you may want to take back to somebody, But outside of that, your accommodations, your meals, your transportation, of course, the different sites that you will be visiting, your security, everything is within the package. And basically, what is needed from you is the 50% down payment to reserve your spot. So in other words, with the 30% discount, for those of you who would have taken in the ad properly, you would have heard it clearly highlight that it is now $1,680. That's the price for the tour, with the discount, by the way. $1,680 for the full tour, the full 10 days, everything included, royal family, even your Wi-Fi connection. Everything is included. Wi-Fi connection, obviously, at the place of your residence, of course, at our guest house / hotel. But now, at the same time, keep in mind that you are required to pay a 50% down payment. So that will be half of the 1680, which is 840. So with a payment of 840, you can secure your spot. And that's just for now, Keep in mind that that's the 30% off offer. So that will come to an end at some time. And then we will have the full price for the tour.
So it would be wise of you to take advantage again of the 30%. Now it was 50%. There are those who would have taken advantage of the 50% already, and give thanks for those who would have taken advantage of the 50%. If you're not one of those, you still have a chance to take advantage of the 30%. And keep in mind, the only thing that we're not giving to you as such is the only thing you don't have to pay us for really is your plane ticket or your fee to get to Ethiopia. But as we would have clearly said to you before, even that we can assist you with. So if you are serious about joining us for the Christmas tour, we can even assist you in getting the, if you want to use the term, the cheapest flight or the most economical flight for the budget that you may have, royal family. But in time to come, we will have our own international airline and things will be on a next level. That is really the vision here. Yeah, man, our Father's vision is our vision, to rise the standard and to have a tabernacle in every state of Africa. This is a vision mission. This is all a part of the mission. We're not having fun and jumping around and wasting time. This is repatriation, redemption, compensation, education. This is what we are all about. So we're very thankful for those who also take that mission seriously. So, royal family, yes, you can email us once more, priestisaacinstitute at gmail.com, to get more information on the tour. You can get the full itinerary from us. We would clearly give that to you so you understand what it is that will be taking place when you join us. And at the same time, you can make your payments utilizing the Cashapp, utilizing the PayPal. You could also utilize Zelle. The very same email, priestisaacinstitute at gmail.com. Beautiful. And of course, for those who will be making a contribution to the lecture, remember these are also fundraiser lectures. And for those of you who are listening and taking in the information, we would have made it possible for you, or I would say we have opened the door for you to make a heartfelt contribution towards the lecture series. So let me say thank you to all those who would have been contributing, whether it's a $5, some ones would have sent their $5, some sent $10, some would contribute their $20 towards the lecture series and the information and just the work in general. We fully appreciate it. As we say, we appreciate love it. So those of you who would have not made your contribution to any of the lecture series that you would have been receiving, now is a good time for you to do that. I would encourage you to make whatever contribution that you can towards this specific lecture that we are giving this evening, because we consider these lectures, these are the lectures that we do to the international community, colleges and universities. When we are asked to come overseas and lecture, or when we are asked to do Zoom lectures to different students, etc., this is the sort of information that they are getting, plus ancient astronomy and things of that sort. So we are bringing the lecture to the YouTube and bringing it to the family that we know appreciate it. And of course, as I said, there's no charge whatsoever here at all. But for those of you who appreciate what is being done and you comprehend the mission that we are doing, we definitely ask you to make a heartfelt contribution. And you can utilize the PayPal, the Cash App, and again the Zelle, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. And we give thanks Amasekanalo in advance. All right, of course, Amasekanalo is Ethiopian for thank you. Amasekanalo, give thanks. Beautiful. And I'm sure even as I'm speaking, there are those who are already making their contribution already getting their tablets and all of that stuff and their cards ready to make a contribution to the lecture. I'm a second allo. Now, as I was saying, and we looking to seal this up with the city of Lord Krishna. And there's really a moral to the whole story here tonight, family. I'm going to repeat. King Emmanuel said his footsteps are at the bottom of the sea. By now, I think that would have, listen to this, you're going to get a kick out of this. By now, that would have soaked in. Yes, that's nice. But anyway, yes, and he has his people at the bottom of the ocean. There has been a debate sometime on this for a very long time. The Archaeological Survey of India has done massive underwater research in the Arabian Sea, and what they found beneath the water will leave you astonished. This article will help you explore if the city of Lord Krishna exists or not. Dwarka, one of the 7 holy pilgrimage sites of Hindus, and a name which resonates in the hearts and minds of millions. The city which is remembered as the kingdom of Lord Krishna. According to Indian mythology, listen to this, according to Indian mythology and ancient Indian texts, Dwarka was once a magnificent coastal kingdom. It was on the coast, thriving in wealth, and was submerged into the sea after Lord Krishna's death. So it was already described as a magnificent kingdom on the coast of India. And it submerged into the sea when Lord Krishna died. And the thing is, we knew where it was according to the legend, and where it was according to the legend is where it is according to the archaeologists. I'm telling you, this is something to look into. Remember, for years before they discovered that city, people would tell you, oh, that's just a legend. Even Indians would tell you, that's just a legend. But they found the city. And of course, Krishna is just a legend too. He's a mythology. But the city was his city. And there's evidence in the city that it is Dwarka, the city of Krishna. Now we go into this now in depth because this is deep, when it comes to understanding the whole aspect of the city that was found. These findings were extraordinary. A network of stone structures, including large stone walls, pillars, and an elaborate underwater city that could fit the description from the ancient texts. Many of the structures seem to suggest an advanced civilization with a layout that could potentially match the description found in the Mahabharata. The underwater city was found at the depths of around 30 to 40 feet. Now, whatever the case is, whether it's an event, a catastrophic event, tectonic plate activities, or rising sea level, the point is, the city was there, and now the city is under the water. And that is what the text says, that this coastal kingdom that was ruled by the great Krishna is now under the sea. The evidence was compelling, yet the scientific community remains divided on the matter, and they will always be divided on the matter, because science don't really believe in God, in many ways and forms. Okay. Some experts argue that these structures could be a part of a much older, historically documented civilization. So they're saying this could be even older than Krishna's city. But keep in mind, that the time frame that you may give to Krishna's city may not do Krishna's city justice. For example, the time frame they give to the pyramids of Giza, 2,700 and something years BCE. Yeah, that may be a long time ago, but when you really study the pyramids properly, and even Her Emaket, which is the Sphinx, you know you have gone tens of thousands of years into the past. So a lot of things that we judge as far as this age or that age, we are doing them a great injustice. The Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, and maybe even the city of the great Krishna may fall into that category, because they're saying here again, some experts argue that these structures could be a part of a much older historically documented civilization like the Harappan or Indus Valley civilization, which flourished long before the supposed time of Krishna. Of course, you know, the Indus Valley civilization is considered to be one of the earliest civilization. And you know, family, the thing is, you gotta keep in mind, we're talking about an African genotype of civilization here. So even if you want to say, well, they were not African, it's not about being African as such, as Africa as we know it, but we all understand that that's where human beings began, in Africa, the land of origin. Okay. And of course, they migrated out. So whether people were born outside of Africa or not, they were still of the African stock. I was born outside of Africa. I am an African just as any African can be. And that is the concept we always had. So whether we went and we established a civilization in India or even in Europe or even in China, the Oriental world, we were still the phenotype and the genotype of obviously the Africans. So that is very important here. That's why when we highlight even Vishnu and not Vishnu, well, even them too, but Krishna specifically, he is the Lord of the Great Black. They have statues of Krishna blacker than, you know, some of the paintings of Osiris, because Krishna itself, the Christ figure, also means black, you see. So let me continue here. They also note that natural erosion, currents, and shifting tectonic plates could have caused these structures to sink into the sea over thousands of years. So, to answer whether ancient Dwarka really exists or not, the answer is yes, according to this article. And that's a very wise answer for sure to the publishers and producers of the article. So let me repeat again, just for an understanding. Have an open mind, especially when it comes to your philosophy and your tradition and your mythology as such. That's why we refer to it as the mythos. Yes, it is mythos. Many of the things that we speak of from an ancient Afrocentric point of view, whether it's the creational story of the Zulu, or whether it's the Nomo coming to the Dogons, or what have you, there's a lot of science within it. Now, the science is coded in mythos. So those who don't understand the science, all they see is the mythos. All they see is the animation, the cartoon. But they don't get the science, the chemistry, the biology, the physics, especially deep mathematics, algebra, all within the story. The creation of the earth. I mean, that must be packed with science, but it has deep allegory that would follow it. That's why when the Europeans came and saw our stories, they began to say foolish things like the sky god came and raped the earth queen and all kind of foolishness, when we did not even have the word rape in our language. They were the ones that brought that up, but they did not understand what they saw when we expressed our story in this mythological form. But it's heavy, hard science that we were expressing, and that is very, 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 very important. So again, there are many aspects of our history that we would have lionized to the point that it would come out as if it's legend. Let's just take Anansi, you know. all stories belong to Anansi. Now, I never heard the argument too strong if Anansi really existed. But let's just say Anansi existed as a human being, but more than likely he wasn't a spider. But the spider symbolism is given to him for one reason or the other. As I would say, Osiris, if he existed, that doesn't mean he was necessarily green, although some would go there, but I wouldn't believe that at all, at all, at all. But again, the green is symbolic of something. Him always being mummified in the way he's been expressed is symbolic of something. And we thrive on symbolism. We thrive on the esoteric. So what's his name now? Krishna. I think he had about 1,600 wives. Hey, listen. I'm not saying that that was impossible, especially in them times, because some people had, a good harem as such. But that could be all symbolism again. More than likely, there's some symbolic tone to that. Krishna would have lift up mountains with his finger and all sort of different supernatural things. But again, this could all be symbolic of whatever it is that the history would have portrayed. You understand? And the same thing now, the reason why I'm pushing this is because the great Krishna is aligned with a city, and both him and his city were considered fable. They found the city. Dimensions, structure, everything like how it's written in their scriptures. Plus the fingerprints of Krishna is in the city. The fingerprints, the footsteps, evidence that he was there according to what they found. Statues. Well, I mean, people can build statues anywhere. I know. Engravements. I mean, come on. They have other temples all over India and Sri Lanka with Krishna's engravement in it. I understand. But this was the fable city that didn't exist. Keep that in mind. And they would have found it. So the great God Krishna, the Marcus Garvey figure, Yeah. Remember King Emmanuel tell us that his footsteps are in the bottom of the sea. And he have his people at the bottom of the ocean. And to me, this is just to prove what we have been saying for all these years. That when you go through all the ancient civilizations of the earth, you must find, with the prophecy and the history that goes with the prophecy and the scriptures that these different civilizations would have brought forward. Because it all comes from one common source. You must find Rastafari within it. Because it's Rastafari's civilization that we are dealing with here. Whether it's the Sumerians, whether it's the ancient Kemetic Egyptians, Kushite, Aksum, you can go on and on down to the Olmec kingdom, the main kingdom. That's why we utilize the main kingdom to show you the trinity of prophet, priest, and king, because we've been there and we are there, the civilizers of creation and civilizers of the people. We taught them kung fu, karate. We taught them taekwondo and yoga. We taught them their languages that they speak. It is obvious that we have always been there. Our footsteps are at the bottom of the sea. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari, Royal Family, give thanks. Thanks for your patient listening for sure and your rapt attention. Continue to encourage you to contact us to get all the information you need, yes, on the upcoming tour. But don't forget the Wholistic Whole Food Store as well. Remember, your catalog specifically will give you all the details as it relates to all that is available and much more as it relates to the whole food items, health food items, and all such that you desire. And remember, Royal Family, we are definitely still available for international lectures wherever you may be, anywhere in the world. We even do Zoom lectures as well. So you definitely can get your community together. You can get your club together. You could get all your fans together and contact us, and you could schedule and we could arrange an international lecture on maybe the subject area that you desire for you and your followers and you and your company, you and your family, and you and your team. So even if we cannot come to Iraq to give you a lecture, whatever the case, we cannot come to Taiwan at the time, whatever the case is, we can do it via Zoom anywhere you are in the world. Family, what a joy. Remember, if you know your Bible and you do not know your history, the knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. Now, I know this conversation straight up a little over the head of many people, and some people, when they don't understand something, they just break out and lose it. But again, family, I'm very appreciative to those of you who would have found the time to open your mind to take in this level of reasoning and understanding, because this is not the time now for fairy tale, make believe, and things that have no scientific value. Family, you don't know it takes some real eyes to realize the real lies that are amongst us. These are the phrases that we use to seal the tiger's nest. But it's just up even for our international lecture. Praise Pharaoh, let the earth hear his voice. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah Rastafari, blessed love.
Family, now available, an easier, more economic way to get your whole foods and health products. All you have to do is give it a try. Email us today, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, and we will send you our digital catalog loaded with the whole foods and health products that you've been looking for. Your honey, maple syrup, agave, your quinoa, millet, teff, bulgur wheat, wild rice, and other grains. How about your almond milk, your almond nuts, your almond butter, and so forth? Essential oils, therapeutic soaps and creams, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, and so much more. So much more. Your legumes, your flax seeds. Family, email us today and get your catalog and see for yourself all that is available. Affordable prices and easy access. We deliver in bulk for restaurants and supermarkets. priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Wholistic Whole Food Store.